Welcome to another episode of the Studs and Scrubs podcast, brought to you by the Scrubs. As always, with me is Nick Strom. Nick, how you doing?
Good, Stu. How's it going, man?
It's going well. It is November the 1st, 11 p.m.-ish, Michigan. But happy Halloween yesterday.
Yes. I saw on your socials the outfits, the whole getup, the whole family. I like when you guys do like a collaborative costume like that. You want to share what you were? I don't want to
Yeah,
spoil it.
it was pretty fun because, as I mentioned on the pod, I've got one child. She's 9 months old. So she started like growling and rumbling a few months ago, and so I would like yell at her, and then she'd like freak out, but then yell back at me. So we made her be a dinosaur. So then we had the whole fam do Jurassic Park, and it was great. It was I'm gonna draw a blank on people's names, but I was Dr. Allen. What's his name in real life? Anyways,
Yeah, I
and
don't.
my wife was the plant doctor lady. Her cousin is 13 or 14 boy that has like real dark hair. So he slicked it back and he was being, uh, oh, what is the actor's name? They're all so famous, it's terrible. But
I
anyways,
know.
my dad had the old, Richard Attenborough is the old guy that owns the park.
Grandpa Big
He,
Mike even
he
was on it, in
Grandpa
on it. I
Big Mike,
loved it. I loved it.
which for our listeners, he's a snowbird, right? And so he moved back to Florida just basically for Halloween, and he'll be here all winter. And he was asking about the podcast and stuff, and I told him,
Mm,
I said, "Well, you might have to be the first guest because
yeah, that would be awesome.
I have to give full props to Leah, but like most kids that play youth hockey, like somebody's parent coaches, right? And
Right.
so my dad was often the coach. And so he was my coach sometimes, and my older brother's coach, and Miles's coach. And he's got some great hockey parent stories.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So that was Leah was saying, what's like a big tournament like for kids, like for youth hockey? What's a big thing? And I said, well, I don't really know, but for sure we always did Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Thanksgiving is
right.
always a
Yeah.
hockey tournament. And my dad grew up in Michigan, and he would go to Detroit and play the good teams there. If there's any listeners from Detroit, there's Honeybake, AAA, and Victory Honda, and all these like super good teams. And my dad went to one of those Catholic high schools, so the private high schools play these really
Mm.
good AAA teams. And so he would always do that back in the day. And Thanksgiving tournament was huge. They'd do Silver Stick in Detroit. Silver Stick's
Oh,
not
yeah.
Thanksgiving though, I don't think. But anyways, so she was like, "You should do a Thanksgiving special, get Grandpa Big Mike
Mm.
on, and then we would be able to maybe, if people want to write in, have a segment where once in a while we do like a listener story episode,
Yeah. That'd
all
be
the
cool.
crazy parent stories, all the youth hockey cycle that
Absolutely.
happened."
That
Anyways,
would be
that was
awesome.
the segue. He moved back in. He jumped into the Halloween costume, and I told him today. I said, "We might have to get you on the pod." But what about you guys for Halloween? Did you do anything for you? The kids are a little older now, but
Yeah, so what happened was my daughter Zoe twisted her ankle last week
you okay?
and pretty bad. We didn't take her to the doctor. It was one of those things that, she didn't break anything, so just kind of like some swelling and a sprain. What's the
Yeah.
doctor's going to tell you stay off of it, ice it,
I say
take
elevated.
some right. And so she's been walking around on crutches for the last week, keeping it elevated. We're icing it. It's getting better, but obviously couldn't really go trick or treating, and so we kind of did a little detour, and we just ended up staying home, and we passed out candy. So I had a
Yeah.
little fire pit at the end of our driveway. Um, I hung a sheet up on one of our big nets that we have, and we projected It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown on there and just kind of like
Oh,
played that on repeat.
that's
Uh,
nice.
so we didn't get a ton of trick or treaters just because we live on like a dead end road. But it turned out to be pretty cool because some of our other neighbors we live on um, we're like the first when you turn on our road, we're the first house on the left. So we're closest to the road, but there were some neighbors that were like further back in the cul-de-sac that like weren't getting anybody, and so they were like walking up towards us being like, hey, have you guys had any trick-or-treaters, like, well, a few, and so we just got more chairs out, and like some of our neighbors just came up and like they passed out candy in our driveway. So like literally, if trick-or-treaters came to my house, there were like three other neighbors that were like in my driveway just with their tote of candy that they were passing out. Like you could have got
Nice.
loaded up. um, and so
A
we
treasure stop.
Yeah, dude. So we uh, roasted some marshmallows, made some s'mores, passed out candy, and yeah, it turned out to be pretty fun. Eli didn't. He stuck around and helped pass out candy and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of his buddies were out trick or treating or not, but yeah, I think Zoe would still like to do it. Eli's kind of, he's in that age where it's like, okay, for sure doesn't want to go with dad anymore, but
Yeah. You're kind of
um,
switching over, right?
yeah, he's 14, so next year he'll be 15, and it's like,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right, well, it's probably going to be more fun to like just be here and have the little campfire and
Yeah,
do
pass
our
out the
little thing.
candy. The
Yeah,
high school parties can be crazy
yeah.
sometimes, but they can some
So,
of
but
them
it
are
was a
tame. I went to some that were just like
yeah,
parents are there and you're at the bonfire and stuff, and it's all But
right,
you're like
yeah,
you're with the old kids now. You're too cool to
yeah,
trick or treat.
yeah,
You're too big for that. So yeah,
yeah. So it
but
turned out pretty well. Weather was great. I mean, yeah. So it's
well,
all
that
fun.
is good to hear. I wanted to say that if the recording has any background noise or any like weird kind of crackling or anything, it's Happy Halloween yesterday, but today I think it's the whole weekend. I think it's 4 days long. I'm not sure because it changes every year.
Mm.
Happy Diwali. So Diwali is a big Hindu holiday, and on our street there would be certain houses that very obviously were not participating in Halloween, right? So a couple people put up like Christmas lights already.
Mm.
So like I kind of grew up in an environment where some people were against Halloween. But I just happened to notice if you walk by or if you went to do candy, because we did the same thing. We stayed at home because the
Mm.
baby's so
Yeah.
little, and we got those golf cart Florida communities. So
Yep.
like there's tons of kids. So just because it's her first time, we go to 4 or 5 houses nearby and take her up when the little dinosaur. It was fun, and people were Indian families that were dressed in traditional clothes, really nice. They were decked out, real fancy, and they
Yeah.
had everything, all the makeup and everything on. And so it was kind of like almost like they were doing something, but different. It was like they were
Mm.
doing their own party at the same time, and it was like
Okay.
so. I googled it, and it's Diwali moves around. So sometimes it's on Halloween. So
Mm.
online, at least, it was saying like there's nothing like against Halloween directly or anything. It's
Right.
just because it lines up. It'd be like if Halloween and Christmas sometimes were the same day. Like it
Mm.
wouldn't make any sense. It,
Yeah.
so some people, Diwali is like a celebration that it's like good triumphs over evil. So
Okay.
then if you're Halloween and you're like ghosts and monsters and demons and devil pitchforks,
Yeah.
it's like your religion is like that. Wait, this is about like good
Yeah.
over evil. It's like so a lot of people just like they'll do Diwali and they just won't do it. And I
Mm.
was like, that's what's happening. The only reason I really brought it up on the pod though is because it's a pretty big holiday. I think it's the biggest one. It's like Christmas.
Mm.
The fireworks have been going off
Oh.
for about 3 hours. And so it's full. It's like New Year's Eve. It's like 4th of July. There's 3 or 4 families on our street that have the Roman candles in the
Oh
street, and
yeah.
they're firing off some pretty big ones. In Florida, you can fire off big ones, and I mean, it's a
That's
nice
kind of
neighborhood.
crazy
There's a
because
lot
your
of people out.
neighborhood, it's not like there's a lot of space in between houses and stuff. It's not
No,
like I mean, you're in a neighborhood.
and it's a fairly high percentage, I assume, of South Asian people and Hindu faith probably because there was a different holiday that a huge parade. I mean, 150 people walking
Mm.
down the street, like just fully like everyone decked out in beautiful clothes, just like the whole length of our street. You've been here.
Wow.
I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, what is this party? So like there's quite a few population in our neighborhood. So I was like, what is that noise? I keep hearing something like it's like fireworks, which in Florida, rednecks shoot off fireworks whenever they feel like it. It's not always a
Right.
holiday. But I
Yeah.
was like, this is like right in these people's driveway. And they had the Christmas lights up or whatever. That's probably just because it's Christmas for us, right? Diwali is like a celebration of lights. So
Okay.
people decorate with lights.
Yeah.
So it was like,
Hmm.
we were answering a lot
Okay.
of questions. During Halloween trick-or-treating, I was like, there's like 2 separate parties going on this street.
Yeah.
And so all during this recording, there's fireworks going on. And I'm like,
Nice.
Happy
Nice.
Diwali. But anyways, into the hockey, just in case anyone hears noise, that is what's going on. The fireworks are shooting
All right.
off. I was going to start off with that. Happy Halloween, happy Diwali, how you been? Noise in the background is Diwali fireworks. And I think I might as well just jump right into just some quick hits around the league. Go, Jets, go.
They've been
How
killing
about these Winnipeg Jets?
it.
I don't have too much to say other than they're just amazing, I guess.
They've been killing it. I think they're very well balanced. I'd love to go back and see where I had them in that division, because I don't think I had them as high as what they are right now. As a matter of fact, I'm sure I didn't have them as high as they are.
No way I had them first, because I definitely
No.
had Dallas above them.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, yeah, they got some depth. They're very well balanced. I mean, you got Hellebuck, who seems like he's always up for the Vesna. And yeah, it definitely hurt double the other day when they played the Wings.
Oh,
Smoked them, and I got a couple of Wings players on my team, so they didn't do so
yep.
well in fantasy. But yeah,
Good segue, because I unfortunately wanted to spend just a tiny bit of time on it. Our boys are struggling,
oh yeah, they
and
are.
they don't look good. I mean, the games aren't like last year. Wings lost a lot of games that were like
A lot of
right
close ones.
there
Yeah,
was like, or they were the better team and they got goalied. Early this season, it looked like, okay, Wings are doing okay. Predators suck, but they beat them both times. Like, Wings are doing okay. That 6-2 against the Jets, and I know the Jets have won 10 games. Who'd they lose to? Toronto? I mean, they've only lost one game. They're a wagon.
yeah,
But the Wings they got massacred. It was
yeah.
like,
It's not looking good for them right now, and that's what do they say? You can't win I don't know if it's the Stanley Cup. You can't make the playoffs in October, but you can miss out on them.
you
If
can miss. You know what?
there's
There's
some
a
saying
weird,
like that.
yeah. There's a weird. Well, it's not a stat. I was listening to a podcast, 32 Thoughts, Elliot Friedman, right?
Yeah.
He has some made up number that he uses that I guess he really does keep track of, right?
Mm-hmm.
He says if you are out of the playoffs spot on November the 1st,
Yeah.
by 4 points or more, you're in ninth, right? You're out of the top 8.
Right.
You're not going to make playoffs.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what he said, but the number was pretty crazy. Like, it's happened like 10 times.
Yeah.
Just a handful of times, and it's only 4 points. So, like, I don't have it in front of me, of course, but, like, the Wings are an okay standing because the Atlantic has this, like, 20-way tie of 50%. But unfortunately, good for them, I guess, when we did our predictions, I said, Wings have got this. They're in. But I think both of us were going with our heart a little bit, because I remember when the Capitals got in on some BS last year, the trades they made on the offseason, I remember looking at their team going, holy crap, the Capitals are going to be way better than they were, and they might be legit, because the Caps are playing great, and they might destroy the Wings' chances of getting in.
They could.
I know it's early.
I do think I had the Caps finishing like bottom three in their division. So I don't. Clearly, I'm a scrub on this Studs and Scrubs podcast. But yeah, so I don't know. But I mean, it is early. Teams have turned it around before. I mean, you look at Edmonton last year; they were just terrible, and then,
Good point.
um, but they also had a ton of talent, and McDavid and Draisaitl are only gonna not score points for so long. The Wings don't have that kind of firepower.
No, they don't. And as underrated as Larkin is, and as good as Larkin is, he can't get 140 points.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
just not going to happen. And I mean,
A good year for Larkin. He's a point per game player.
right. And I think that if he was surrounded with more talent, could he get 90? Could he get 100? Maybe. But the realistic numbers are 70, 80, 85.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, Hyman might have had 100, right? Draisaitl's got over 100, McDavid's got over 100, and Nuge had over 100.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, they got 400 points on line one. Like, what's going on here?
I mean the Wings definitely need say a superstar or if you just had Lucas Raymond get you 80 or 90 points, he's still young enough that he's probably not quite hit his prime yet.
Yeah.
But even him, I don't know that he's a 100-point player, but you need him to be at least another point per game player
Right.
if you want to have a chance. I love Larkin, but if I'm being completely honest, your team, the Wings, would be a much better team and a bigger threat if Larkin is, say, your number two center and you have a superstar at center. Not that Larkin can't, lead the team and be that point per game player and get you to the playoffs, but you have to have some depth.
Yep.
And as we're seeing, the Jets, have that depth. Because you think of the Jets, who's their superstar? You got Hellebuck, Kyle Connor obviously can score goals.
Yep.
But and maybe it's just because it's Winnipeg and no one thinks about them.
Yeah.
They're not such a big market, so they're not a team that just comes to mind. But
no, but it's true though. It's like and really, as much as it bothers me just being a, old, bitter Wings fan, but the Blues, not as good as the Jets, but they're getting it done the same way. They're just, all four lines are producing. They're doing okay. They're not as deep and as strong as Dallas is and the Jets are, but it's like that is a different way to excel in the league. Yes, Hellebuck is a certified superstar, Vezina Trophy, and we all know he kind of fell apart in the playoffs a little bit, but like he's an absolute superstar in the league.
yeah,
Kyle Connor is an underrated star, but you would never say, okay, top five in the league are McKinnon, McDavid, Matthews. Okay, Crosby's older, but maybe he's still there. Maybe it's Kucherov. Maybe it's Kyle Connor. You wouldn't put Kyle Connor with those guys.
right.
But it's like you're saying, Adam Lowry, Kyle Connor, Hellebuck, Morrissey, these players are all great, but it's like a whole team of B pluses.
Right.
If Larkin is your second line center, you're a really, really good team.
Yeah.
Right? Or if the drop off wasn't so insane. I think is the problem with the Wings is there's
That's true too, yeah.
And I'm not on I don't criticize Eiserman basically. Yeah, I've got the blind faith.
Yeah.
But also I do think a lot of the moves he makes, and since he's been here and you had to get rid of the old contracts, he's really only on year 3 of like his team.
Right.
And his best players are Larkin and people who are under 25. Yeah. So Mo Seider is an absolute stud. Raymond's an absolute stud. And you got a couple guys in the pipeline. Is it Samuelson is the other D? Whatever. Wings have a really good depth pool. I kind of agree with people that complain that Jeff Petrie and Sherrod and some of these older guys, it's like we just need to cut and burn and go a little more like San Jose, Anaheim, Montreal. That it's like you just have to give the reins to the young kids because we're now on year 5 of being okay, but not good enough for playoffs. And it's like,
Right.
so we got to do something. And I don't claim to know more about hockey than who they got in the
Yeah.
office now. They got Draper and Lindstrom and
Yeah. Yeah.
Eiserman.
Eiserman.
But it's like they did this combo that the Blackhawks did this year, and everyone praised them. But then the Wings, everyone's making fun of. You bring in some old guys that maybe can't keep up anymore. Like you get the leadership of what's his name playing with Bedard. Their captain, their new captain, Nick Foligno. You get his leadership, but then you get some guys like Pat Maroon and some guys that can't really play as the speed anymore. But it takes a little pressure off of Bedard, and even Hall is a veteran now, but like they just eat up some minutes, right? And so it's like Mo Seider doesn't have to play 35 minutes. He can play 25 minutes, you know? So I agree with that combo. Get some veterans in there that can just, these guys aren't dead and exhausted by the time they're 28 years old. They're burnt up, which is kind of what happened to Larkin, right? He's the only player on the team with any talent. And now it's like he spent 18 to 27 just burnt down with no one to play with. And so you don't want to do that to everyone, Raymond and Mo and like all the young guys you just fry. But at the same time, like eventually you have to give them the keys and just say, okay, the future's now. We have to have the young guys take over because you're the best players.
Yeah, Detroit's always been that team though that like I won't say buries guys in the AHL, but like
a little.
They've always been so talented that the guy, it's hard to crack the roster.
Yep.
So guys were always, in playing for the Griffins, for a few years past when they should have, if they were on a different team, just because, the Wings had so much talent on their NHL roster. And so, yeah, there has been this transition with players, but maybe not necessarily in the mentality or the thinking of it. It seems like they do want guys to be, NHL ready when they come up to the big show. And it's like, well, I don't know that they need to be like ready. Lucas Raymond played himself onto the opening day roster that one year in preseason when he was just lighting it up. Like they brought him up and had him play in the preseason and said he's going back to the Griffins unless he like just plays his way onto the team and he forces our hand that we can't. And that's what he did. And so, is he a little streaky? Has he had some struggles? Well, sure, of course. But I'm a little bit on your side on that with like, hey, well, let's just get these guys up here. You don't want to crush their morale and their psyche either if they come up and then they just keep, they're getting destroyed and waxed and can't keep up. You do have to have that blend of veteran presence, veteran players, the leadership. I'll call them your bridge players. Jeff Petrie, Shabbat, Sherratt, sorry,
Sherratt. Shabbat would be nice.
He's actually for the Senators, but you have those guys, you have those guys that have been around for a while, the veterans who, can kind of lead and show some of the youngsters but maybe don't have the speed or the youth on their side, but they know the game well enough that they can be teaching some of these some of the younger kids, and I do think that's good. Mo might be the best defenseman on the team, but if he doesn't have anybody to learn from, it's hard to get better in that regard. So I do. It's a tough act, just a tough thing to balance with having some bridge players, some veteran players, and young guys and getting them started. We got Sebastian what's his name? The goalie, uh,
Costa.
Kosa. Yes, thank you. Who was drafted whatever top 5, top 10 a few
Yeah,
years
he was.
ago, and everyone was kind of blasting Yzerman for that pick. And he's spent his time in the minors, ECHL, AHL,
Yeah,
and so Yzerman's taken his time with him, and that's why you've seen Huso, Cam Talbot, Nedeljkovic, the wings, Cam Talbot. We've just had all these goalies, Alex Lyon. None of these goalies are the goalie of our future. We know that. Yzerman knows that. But
yeah,
you bring in some of these veteran uh, guys that have been around, journeymen that have played for several teams in their careers, to just kind of bridge the gap. But at the same time, dude, I don't. I'll be careful here because I know Stevie Y is a big fan of our podcast and he probably listens, so I don't want to
yeah.
criticize
He's
him
been
on here.
texting me. He said, "Slow down a bit, boys."
But you do want the future to be now. You don't. I'm gonna hate saying this word, and I don't really mean it like this, but you don't want to waste Larkin's prime on these bridge years.
Right. I agree. I mean, that's what it comes down to, though. You can't fight the clock forever.
Right. So, I mean, at some point, you got to make some moves. And I think we're getting to that point where, maybe another year or two or player, but, we're not the destination that we used to be.
Right.
Um, and I'm not even talking like when we were winning cups and you'd get veterans that wanted to come to Detroit to win a cup that they haven't, guys that have never won before are like, oh, yeah, but even just, it was nice when they were throwing around Stamkos's name about coming to Detroit, the connection with Yzerman. Now, how
Mhm.
real was that? How legit was it? I don't know. But, you know, if you can get to be a playoff team, you become more attractive to free agents.
Right.
It's
Right.
not just about the money. Guys want to win.
Hmm.
Um, so
Well, a
you
good
get
example of that,
DeBrinket, you
right?
get Kane coming there to play
Right.
with DeBrinket to get, but yes, he's got the cups and stuff, but I mean, it's not fun to lose either. It's
Right.
not fun to always miss the playoffs. So you got to find that balance. You got to make some moves to where you can be a competitive team, make the playoffs a couple times,
Hmm.
show some progress, that you're
Yep.
headed in that direction, and I think it makes your team and organization more attractive for some free agents. And you're gonna have to, you can build through the draft, but you also have to be able to sign some free agents to your team
Yep. You got to
to get
do a
better.
combo. And it's interesting to see how it'll play out. I guess we'll have a time machine in 5 years. We'll look back where it's sort of a do or die, not quite, but it's like it's a show me now.
Yeah,
There's been a timer, but everyone knows that the Red Wings, the Senators, and the Sabers are in this quagmire of like
yeah,
they all are good, but they all suck. It's like
right, yeah,
night to night or whatever, and it's like the approach of the Wings is kind of like balance where you got veterans and you got youth. And I feel like the Senators kind of took that approach also, where you see
yeah,
Giroux come over, and obviously they shredded DeBrincat, and then the Wings pick up Kane and Tarasenko and Petrie and Sherrod, and Kim Talbot even is playing fine for the most
yeah,
part. Got lit up a couple of times, but the D's terrible, and it's like the Predators a little bit, right? Where Stamkos obviously is a little different. I mean, he's
yeah,
a superstar. Saros is a superstar. Marchessault is maybe not that level, but
right.
he's
But he's a star,
a
very good
total
player.
star stud. I think Marchessault is a better player today than Kane is today.
Mm,
Probably, well, I don't know, but obviously Kane is past his best years, obviously,
right.
and so
Yeah.
it's like then you get Buffalo that's in the same category. They go the other direction, where they don't bring in any veterans,
Yeah.
and they are going. This is it. Like I think that Lindy Ruff might have even said that. It was like,
Mm,
oh no, that was Trotz with Predators. They basically said that this is the team.
Yeah.
Like we kind of put our chips in this summer. This is who we got. Where the comparison to Buffalo is like they kind of went the other way, where they sort of said we're sticking with the young boys. Darlene's the captain. We got Levi and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen in net, and we got a incredible D core that are all under 27, 28 years old. Everyone's young, and they've kind of been crap the past 3 years, but like sometimes they're brilliant. And
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see, is the hybrid Red Wings method where you're half young, half veteran better? Or is it we got to turn over our new leaf and go? And, I do think that Buffalo has less choice, maybe. I mean, if you're Stamkos, are you going to go to Buffalo? Probably not.
Right. And that's the thing. So even the Red Wings, even if they're terrible, you have the original six thing going for you. You know, I'm
You got
just sitting
Kane,
here
you got
thinking,
Tarasenko, like you got Yzerman.
yeah,
There's some weight, I think. Names like Yzerman.
yeah,
It's like I've heard that he's super intense.
yeah,
That like he can pull you in a room and say like, "We want you." The original 16 wants you. I am in
yeah,
the top 10 all-time points. Like I want you here on my team. And
yeah.
I think basically that's how DeBrincat signed with the Red Wings, basically, right? And Kane, both. I think Kane has fairly openly said, "I met one-on-one with Yzerman, and he basically that was the difference."
I knew DeBrincat grew up a Wings fan, so I mean, you get those
Yeah, you could
guys,
be a little.
um,
Didn't it
you
Kyle
know, there's a
Connor?
little
Is it
bias.
Kyle Connor from Michigan?
Oh, he might be.
Because he just beat the tar out of our Red Wings, and people were like, "Oh, the Michigan boy." I'm like, "Well, come on over.
Yeah.
You want to score four
So
or
I
five
was
goals the
also
other way."
right. I was also just sitting here thinking, I wonder. I'm not saying Stamkos, like again, I don't know how close he was to Detroit. If that was just a tie to Yzerman, does he just, you know, out of courtesy, take that phone call from Yzerman, like, hey, we were together in Tampa. What can you offer me here? Here's what I really am
Right.
looking for, or whatever. But if the Wings make the playoffs last year instead of the Caps, Wings were no threat to the cup. But if you made the playoffs,
Mm-hmm.
now you're seeing progress. You're
Yep.
seeing the Wings take that next step. So, how much did that hurt them by not making the playoffs last year?
Yeah.
And so I don't
Yeah.
know.
Right. You don't want to play the
Because you
what
look
if
at the
game.
Caps. The Caps were that last team in, got swept in the playoffs. But then some of the offseason moves they made has now
Yeah.
made them better.
Yes.
So something to kind of consider that I'm just thinking about really for the first time now sitting here. So I don't know.
Right. No,
Interesting.
that's a good one because you can play the what if game all day long, but it's also like, I mean, do you get rid of Wallman or do you keep him? If they make the playoffs and you got people like Marchessault and Stamkos are the big names, but you saw some of the pickups that the Caps did and some of these other teams where it's like there's some good depth. A Zadorov to the Bruins. The
Mm,
Bruins are struggling. They're not doing great. Lundell, right?
yeah.
Also the Bruins. There's those type of players,
Lindholm.
Lindholm,
Yeah.
that it's like, okay, yes, they're not the top, but like they really add a really strong core middle top six type of people that you need to push you to the next level.
Yeah.
If the Wings get Zadorov and they get Stamkos, are they going to win the Stanley Cup this year? Probably not. But are they going to then push into the playoffs? Maybe they have to play the Rangers in round one and they lose in 5 or 6 games, but it's just moving the right way. Where now you're the team on the outside looking in. People like Malkin, Claude Giroux have suddenly been resurrected from their career.
Malkin
They're
was another
getting
name that was
there.
thrown around with Detroit.
Yeah. And I never really feel like I believe Letang, Malkin, or Crosby moving, but I never would have
Yeah.
guessed in a million years that they'd get rid of Fleury and say Fleury's old, he's out, Matt Murray's in. I
Right.
remember thinking like, are you out of your mind?
I
I know
didn't like
Matt
that
Murray's
move.
talented and he's young, but like Wasn't Fleury one
Fleury
overall
bailed you
pick?
guys out of the playoffs those years.
I know people. I swear I'm taking crazy pills because I know Matt Murray was the guy and he was the starter and he won the cup, but like he
They
forgot how to
don't
play.
make.
He crapped the bed, and Fleury came in and bailed him out both years, back-to-back cups. Fleury came in and won against the Capitals and against somebody in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
Rangers?
Ooh, I
I don't
can't
remember
remember, but I know that they would go. Murray would start the series, and then all of a sudden they're down 3-2, and it's like, "Hey, Fleury, can you help us
Can you bail
out?"
us out real quick and then
He
get back
wins
on
two
the game?
games, and then they go back to Murray the next beginning of the next series, and I'm just like,
Right.
"You guys are, it's not going to work."
It's not. It shouldn't have worked, but when
I
it
know
was
you want it to, and I know you want to keep the young guy. Fleury was,
right,
however
Jake
old at the
Gensel
time, but
scored 18 goals and Crosby had 2 points every game,
yeah,
and you win. It's like okay, but people kind of saying, "Oh, Fleury won the one in '09 and he sat on the bench in the 17 one." I'm like, "What are you smoking?" And then
yeah,
he immediately went to the finals
with
with the
Vegas,
Knights, right? I
yeah.
mean, like that dude's a legend, but whatever. I don't know if Malkin ever really was, eh, you know, in danger of leaving and going to a different team or not, but
Yeah, I this is just my feeling is that the Penguin organization probably isn't. I mean, because Malkin's living in Crosby's shadow there. So
yeah,
Crosby's obviously the one that you want to keep around. He's your franchise player. He'll have a statue out front. He'll have whatever he wants in Pittsburgh when he's done.
yep,
Malkin though has been I mean, I hate to say underrated, but definitely just under the radar kind of player that would be the guy on any other team. It's just that he's happens
yep.
to play with a top 5 player of all time, so he gets overlooked a lot. And
Yeah,
so I don't know if it's just them thinking, okay, well, we're not going to trade Crosby and get stuff there for him, or if we have to shed some money, obviously we're going to keep Crosby and
yeah,
um, so I just feel like sometimes, maybe he's not appreciated as much in Pittsburgh for what he's contributed. But um, yeah, I never really felt like I that he was in danger of leaving necessarily because you got to keep him. I mean, yeah, Crosby, Malkin, Letang. They should have kept Fleury. Just had all those guys just be lifer Penguins, and
yeah.
they probably win another cup
Well,
if
what's
they don't
crazy?
trade Fleury, or not.
They
Sorry, if
might
they
have.
don't trade, but if they don't expose Fleury to the expansion draft, are you kidding me? From 18 in the last 6 years,
Yeah, because you're telling me that the I heard a podcast say that the Rangers, in theory, could win the cup if Quick was your goalie in the playoffs.
mm,
Quick can't play all 60 games as a starter anymore, maybe.
yeah,
But if he comes in to the playoffs and Shesterkin was gone, or they didn't have enough money to sign his new contract, or they just said, we're going to trade you for a huge return, or he's hurt or something, can
yeah,
Quick play 20 games and win the cup? Of course he can. I think
right,
Fleury still can too, just for that short stint. And
yeah,
it's like, if Fleury never left the Penguins, were they good enough where, because I'm not a huge Kyle Dubas guy, I think that some of his decisions, I don't really understand how, like, everyone thinks he's like the greatest hockey mind who ever lived, or I don't know. I guess he's smart and he's really good with analytics apparently, but like when he was in Toronto, what I saw was whatever anyone asked for, he said yes. That Matthews said, I want to be the highest paid person. Yep.
yeah,
Nylander's huge contract. Yep, that might have been with Tree Living, but Marner and Tavares and everyone, he said yes, 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 and then he left town, and then he came to the Penguins, and they said, look, the guys are old, Fleury's gone, you got to get rid of them and build new. Well, are you gonna come in and trade Sidney Crosby? Are you out of your mind? Well, maybe you trade one of them, and you move off of Malkin, right? That's what people were
Right.
rumoring. Maybe Malkin goes to a Detroit. Maybe Malkin goes to more of a contender. Maybe he's looking more Dallas. He's looking more whatever makes sense, right? Maybe yes, maybe no. Well, Dubas goes the other way. He goes out and gets Erik Karlsson for like the
Mm.
most one of the most expensive contracts in the whole
Yeah.
NHL. It's diminishing returns.
Yeah.
And my thing is like they're all still producing good enough where if you would have kept Fleury around and moved around Matt Murray, you can look in your crystal ball all day long, but Jake Gensel is your young stud. You get rid of him. It's
Yeah.
like it's backwards. And so it's like, you know, these guys, Stamkos, Crosby, Malkin, uh, Gaborik, there are some older guys that are on their end of their career that are not just being kept around as a charity case, is the only reason I brought that up. You said if you keep that core together in Penguins, Letang, Malkin, Fleury, and Crosby are all still producing at an above average star level. Especially Crosby's a bit of a freak, but I heard someone say that Malkin, you could debate, is even more impressive. He lives in Crosby's shadow, but he's basically a second line center, which means he gets second line center ice time.
Mm.
And they do the two-headed monster on the power play, but not always. Sometimes they break it up. If you're on power
Right.
play 2 for half your career, if you're playing 21 minutes instead of 26 minutes, like when
Yeah.
you think about it, it's like actually that's almost more impressive. Any other team, almost 28 teams, he's the number one best player by far.
Yeah.
And so you're saying you're the second best player for your whole career, and you play the same position. So like it's actually you probably would have another 100 points, maybe 200 points, just by playing
Yeah.
3 to 4 minutes. You're playing 3 minutes extra a game for 20 years.
Right. Yeah.
It is kind of a stupid what if, but it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But we're getting a little bit long winded here. Sorry, I got distracted with the
That's all right.
Wings. The Wings, everyone knows we're struggling. We're Wings fans, and I feel like we don't talk about the Wings enough sometimes. So sorry that it had to be that we suck and look terrible, but hopefully we turn it around. Colorado, I hate to talk in a good way about because I hate Colorado, but how about going like the worst team in the league to then firing off 5 wins in a row? Makar's getting 25 points a game, and it looks like Makar might be the best player in the whole NHL. And then they've got like 6 players injured. Like,
Yeah,
what
they
is
do
going
have quite a
on
few
in
guys.
Colorado?
Yeah.
They're down,
I,
they're up, they're injured.
and they're getting some shaky goaltending with Gorgiev right now, but
Oh,
um,
yeah. I think a Noonan might be saving him, but
I was
he's
gonna
kind of
say
untested, you know?
he's been coming in and just playing pretty good for him. So yeah, I think overall they'll be all right. I don't know where they are in
Yeah.
the standings, if they're that 4 points out or not, but they're one of those teams that if they just have the talent, and if they start getting guys back that are healthy, I mean, they're only going to get better, and it's hard to keep those teams down for too long. So,
Yep, I think that you're onto it right there. That's it. It'll be similar to Vegas last year.
oh yeah, yeah,
They'll limp in. They'll still get into the playoffs. They'll be ranked 6, 7, 8. And then if you're whoever, I don't know who's having a good year, the Jets, I guess. And now wild card 2 is the Avalanche, but they're fully
yeah.
healthy. Well,
That's
that
the thing. You
sucks.
get some of those injured players back, it's almost as good as trading for someone. I mean,
Yeah, sometimes, and you know how the cap can work. You now you're doing the Chicago, Tampa, Vegas long term injured reserve.
yeah, yeah,
I don't really personally think, nothing against anybody, but I don't really think Landeskog's probably ever coming back. But people say he is. So I mean, could you imagine Rantanen and they get a hot goalie and Landeskog comes back and what's his name? Is it Nichushkin, the Russian that had the
yeah, yeah,
problem last year? If they all come back in playoffs and you're the 8 seed, quote unquote, and everyone knows you're the third best or fourth best team,
Right.
I mean, you just get a monster through people. That's ridiculous. But
Yeah.
anyways, I just had to shout out that they have a crazy year. How wild! And then I just hate their stupid A with their swoosh being good. I want them to lose every game. I hate them. But holy crap, had to shout out Makar. How incredible is that player? We
Yeah.
played the head to head
He's
game. He is the only active player that I would take over most people. I could probably only name 5 or 10 like all time that I would say, okay, I want those guys. And
mm,
he's only 25.
yeah, he's definitely the best defenseman in the league. And I mean, if you have him on your real life team, you're going to be all right. And if you have him on your fantasy team,
Yes.
um, you'll, he's going to have his weeks where he'll struggle or whatever. But overall, you're better off having Makar on your team than not.
Yep, that's and you know what? There was two things that happened in real life that are just good leaders in sports or in life. Makar had, I'm sure you saw it, everyone's seen it. He had a little soundbite where he said, "I think our team would have been better if I didn't play today."
Mm,
Or whatever, something like that. Like our team would have
yeah,
been better if I wasn't on the ice.
yeah,
Then he goes and gets 18 points in 9 games, and they won like 5 in a row.
yeah.
Sidney Crosby said that he wasn't up to standards. He's not acceptable, and it starts with him. He's got to go back and figure out why he's not playing well. And the Penguins are horrible, but he's been a point per game since he said that 5 games ago or whatever. You know, he's got like 7 points in 5 games, and of course is a point per
Yeah,
game again, almost 40 years old. And so just to see someone who's a veteran and one of the best players like ever say that, and then see this young kid who is, like you said, pretty much undebatable the best defenseman in the league.
yeah.
And that is going to be a good transition for Studs and Scrubs now that I'm already over 45 minutes. Our Studs and Scrubs hour, I have to say that if Makar's the number one in the league, okay, so who's next? You got Quinn Hughes, you got Adam Fox, you got Yossi. Okay, well, all these guys are high on points. Maybe there's some defenseman people. Maybe there's some underrated guys like Josh Morrissey, who's lightened it up
Mm,
recently with the Jets winning every game.
yep.
But that brings me into my first scrub.
Who
Not a
you
scrub in
got?
real life, but he's a fantasy scrub for this week. Let's
Okay.
clarify so I don't get, my house burned down.
Hate
The
mail and death
week
threats.
Yeah, the week of when was Monday? Hold on, the fantasy week, Monday the 28th, coming into November 3rd, Sunday the 3rd. That fantasy week, okay.
Okay.
The scrub is Adam Fox
Wow. Okay.
because the total so far, the week total, he is -1 fantasy points.
Wow. That is very surprising.
I mean, you
Um,
talk about Makar saying, I think my team would have been better without him. Literally, my fantasy team would have been better leaving Fox on the
that's
bench.
true. Yeah. Wow.
So he had
And
3 assists last week in 1 game. So you got to start the guy. He's too talented, but I had to put him on the scrubs list. I'm getting annihilated by Miles, our third co-host that hasn't joined us yet. He is not doing well this year in some personal stuff, but in his fantasy league, he's not doing very
mm,
good this year. Well, now that he's playing his brother, he's ripping me
killing it.
apart. So, anyways, Fox is my scrub for this week because he's annoying me. I need him to get points to beat my brother.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah. He's
failing.
normally like a top five defenseman. I don't
Oh,
know if that's how the rankings would have him at the end of a season, but for sure he's your one of your most talented offensive defensemen
yep.
playing the power play minutes and on a very talented team in New York. So he's definitely like one of the top five defensemen off the board in the drafts. And when you draft him like that, you need him to produce points, not get negative. That's crazy. I wouldn't have thought he would have gone negative in a week, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's crazy. I will go with so my scrub, and I kind of thought this guy was a scrub when he got drafted. I don't have where he was drafted in our league. I want to say like fifth or sixth round, but I'm going to go that Frank Vetrano
Hmm.
for Anaheim. Whoever had him finally dropped him in our league. He's owned in like 58% of Yahoo leagues, and
Wow.
he's a winger. I think people are high on him just because last year he scored 37 goals. And so I think, I'm fairly confident in saying that was a career high for him. I don't know what was at before, but um, I just, man, 60% of Yahoo leagues have him on as being rostered, and it's just like I feel like there are so many other better options out there. So I say drop him if you got him. Just don't even
Yeah.
bother. Maybe he's one of those guys you pick up and plug and play if the Ducks have a game and no one else does. He's only got 4 points in the 9 or 10 games that Anaheim has played this year, and one of those games he had a goal and assist. So one game he had 2 points, and so in what 2 points in 8 games.
Here's a couple comparisons just to help you out with this is a good
Yeah,
scrub because you're right. 58% rostered. Right now he's ranked 324. Okay, which is terrible. He
yeah,
has 22 fantasy points for the entire season. I mentioned I'm getting my butt kicked by Miles. Check this out.
yeah.
Vetrano has 22 the whole year. This week, William Nylander, 20. James Morrissey, 25.
Oof.
Sidney Crosby, 20.
Yeah,
Markstrom, 20. I've got Shesterkin, 22. Martin Nietzsche's, 21.
yeah.
That's like 5 players this week that have as
More
many as
points than
Vetrano does
he's
the whole
all
season.
season. Yeah. Yeah, I just think that you'd probably be able to find someone that is going to put up more fantasy points, real points, that's on a better team as well. I just um, I just think you could find better out there.
Yeah, here's a good one for you right now. We'll do it to someone listening on our pod. It's probably going to be your son. Drop Vetrano if you got him. Pick up Mercer, Dawson Mercer. Better
Mm,
team. He's playing for New Jersey. He's ranked 97. What did we say Vetrano was? 320.
300 and something. Yeah,
And Mercer's available. Mercer's rostered in 17% of leagues.
yeah.
What was Vetrano? 60% of all Yahoo leagues? 58?
Hit me with, is it Knies,
Yeah.
Kies
Yeah,
for
it's
Toronto?
nice. Is
Where's he at?
well, he's ranked 150, but he's scored
In like
five
four or
goals
five
in
games in a row.
games. Yep.
Go, gosh, I hate saying this because I got my eye on him, but go pick him up. He's playing on the top line in Toronto. He's available. What's he at on how many percentage of Yahoo leagues?
34. Only 34% of leagues have him.
And Vetrano's 58% of Yahoo leagues. Drop him. He's a scrub. Go get Knies for
Nice.
Toronto.
And you know what? You can't call him a scrub, but I'll transition into nice because Miles, total stud, has Miles, you're a stud, yes. I meant on your team you have a total stud, William Nylander. And I'm
Yeah.
a little annoyed because when I picked 3 in a row, right? I mentioned that on the pod. I had 3 picks like boom, boom, boom. Uh, 10, 11,
Oh
12. I
yeah.
think I had, or something like that, or 11, 12,
Yeah.
13. It was like I had to make sure I didn't mess up. So I picked up Shesterkin, didn't mess up. He's amazing. I picked up Adam Fox. Can't really say I messed up, but he doesn't have as many points as I wish. Um,
Overall, he'll be fine for you.
and little asterisk, Makar and Quinn Hughes were not available. So
Yeah.
I got the best offensive defenseman in the league. That's
Yeah.
not those two, I think. Probably. Yossi was not available either. So it's like,
Right.
I'd
Yossi
probably
was for sure drafted ahead of you. Makar was a keeper, and maybe Quinn Hughes
and
was a
Quinn
keeper. I
Hughes because
can't
he
remember.
miles this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, then I took Mitch Marner because I keep saying stud. He's going to have the best year of his career. It's still early. You never know.
Yeah.
But he's not doing very well. And William Nylander is. And Matthews is a little behind his goal scoring like normal. But Nyes is putting the puck in the net, and Willie Nylander is on fire. So
Yeah.
if you can get anybody who's playing on line one with Toronto and on the power play with Toronto, go get them.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a good one there. My final stud I'm going to do, because your last one, you wanted to transition into
We'll
your thing.
transition. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I wanted to call out the gap, I called it. So it's a little unfair because they played against each other and the gap was really apparent. So I don't want to be too harsh because I didn't watch the game live, but I played two things. I want to yell at Yahoo because I checked my rosters. Because we can't understand it, right? When they put in
Right.
their people, I don't know how it works because
There's no rhyme or reason.
there's no rhyme or reason. So they defaulted that I should start Olmark and I should start Wolf for Calgary.
Okay.
Wolf didn't play. Valdar did. But that's irrelevant. Yahoo had, at the time, Shesterkin with a green check mark as the starter. Olmark, no check mark. Wolf, no check mark. And the app automatically put Shesterkin on the bench with the green check mark to start. And Wolf in, which is already crazy, but also Wolf's not playing and Shesterkin is. So Yahoo, what are you doing? Get us involved. Hire us. We'll take over. It'll be fine.
We'll
I
take
gotta
care
learn
of
how
it.
to do
Exactly. Yep.
computers, but I know the stuff. Okay, we'll manage. We'll manage.
Yeah.
We'll tell the nerds this is what you need to do, and they'll do. Okay, so the gap is glaring in real life with his contract and all this. Shesterkin, I don't know. He's just over there sweating vodka, just killing it. I don't know. But to be offered 8 years at $11 million to be the highest paid goalie of all time, and to say I'm good, no thanks, and then to go out there night after night and be the best player in the world. Olmark is no slouch. Olmark is a Vezina Trophy winner.
Yeah.
Olmark is a very good goalie. The Rangers are a better team than the Senators. Well, tonight they played the shots. Ottawa Senators had more shots. So the Rangers had 18 shots. The Senators had 41. 41 to 18. Rangers win 2-1 because Allmark let in 2 goals on 18 shots and Shesterkin let in 1 on 41. And I know the Senators are streaky, but they can score. Didn't they just put up 8 like 2 days ago?
Yeah, they're not bad.
I think didn't they play Seattle or someone just beat their doors off? I mean, Shesterkin is in a league of his own. We got, maybe Hellebuck, I guess. We got, here's the best goalies in the world, and then here's Shesterkin on his own planet. Yeah. Like, the guy is a freak of nature. It was good for me because it's the only reason I'm even hanging on by my teeth right now in fantasy. Unfortunately, those are my 2 goalies. So Omar got me 2 points. Shesterkin got 14. So I basically just averaged out to 2 normal goalies. But, anyways, I had to give a shout out to my stud is the obvious one. It's Shesterkin. Everyone knows he's a stud. It's like calling McDavid a stud. But, he's a freak stud, though. And I played him tonight and had to yell at Yahoo and then shout out how good he is because he has had many, many, many games this year where he's at a 94, 95 save percentage and is just carrying the stacked Rangers to be a really, really dangerous team. If they keep this up, they might have a totally legit chance to win it all. I still kind of see a few teams above them come cup time, but it's really cool to see Shesterkin just turn
Yeah,
down the biggest contract of all time and then go out there and prove it. So that's
yeah.
it. That's what I got for studs and scrubs. I know it's kind of boring picking Shesterkin, but hey, I picked Fox as a scrub. So, you know,
All Rangers tonight. I like it.
all Rangers because you know what? I almost said Zabinajad because he's annoying me on fantasy too. He either gets a hat trick or he gets nothing.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to real quick do an honorable mention for a stud and then roll into my stud. My honorable mention for stud is going to be Sean Monahan. He's only
Yes,
rostered in 28% of Yahoo leagues. He's got 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points in the last 10 games. Dude's playing for Johnny Hockey,
yes,
obviously.
yes, he
Um,
is.
yeah, I just heart goes out to him. He signed in Columbus to play with Johnny Hockey, is one of his best friends. I do think what's holding Monahan back in some fantasy leagues, probably ours especially, is that he is a center only in that
Yeah.
position. But he's 78th overall
Wow.
when I look today. And so I won't say, killing it, but I'm willing to bet that most teams have a center on their team that is in that range or below him. And so, right now he's playing like an absolute stud. So hats off to him. I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's, having success right now. So Sean Monahan, if you need someone on, a day that Columbus is playing or um, a guy to kind of plug and play if you got some injuries or something, pick him, pick him up, give him a shot. He's been hot lately.
Yeah.
So,
That's
but
good.
my stat that I want to kind of focus on here that will then transition us to my Nick's history lesson, our NHL segment, is I want to talk about Tommy Gunn Wilson.
Oh, good one.
40% owned in Yahoo leagues. He's got 8 points in 9 games. He's got 6 goals so far. I looked up last year, he only had 18. I think he missed a little bit of time last year as well, so that kind of skews that number a little bit. But his career high, I think, is like 24, 25 goals. And so if he's got 6 already this year and had 18 all of last year, I mean,
Yeah.
that's he's on pace to have a career year, I believe. So I could see him getting, pushing the 30 goal mark this year, maybe. He's going to get more time. Obviously, Backstrom hasn't played in a while, but with Oshie out this year, he's got the A full time. So I think he's, stepping into that bigger leadership role. And so just kind of putting the team on his back a little bit. I also think it's going to open up some things. Everyone's, still concerned about Ovechkin just because you have to be. You have to, he can still score. So if Ovechkin is taking a lot of the pressure and the attention, then
Yeah.
it opens it up for other guys. And so I think Tom Wilson has kind of benefited from that maybe
Yeah.
this year, getting some more opportunities and stuff.
Definitely.
So 40% in Yahoo leagues, he's a winger. You could also drop Vetrano and pick up Tom Wilson. I know he's going to get you more penalty minutes, but it's worth it. He plays on the power play. I
Yeah.
mean, he's just a big physical guy.
And
um,
leagues that helps you, right? Depending on
Yeah,
your
if you
league
got leagues that's a
or category.
category or it's a bangers league where you're getting points for hits and stuff, I mean, he's
Yeah.
probably even more valuable. Um, so I
Good
would say
pickup.
Tom Wilson, if he's out there and available, you could snag him. So yesterday, Tommy Gunn Wilson, uh, don't know if you know this or not, uh, Stu, but he had a Gordie Howe hat trick
Okay.
yesterday. So that is going to be our little NHL segment, a Gordie Howe hat trick. Now, for those of you that don't know, that is a goal, an assist, and a fight all in the same game. So uh, that term was coined back in the 1950s by a New York sports writer. And the first one, so that's when the term was coined, but the first known Gordie Howe hat trick was by a guy. He's apparently in the Hall of Fame. I'd never heard of him, to be honest. His name is Harry Cameron of the
Okay.
Toronto Arenas, and
Oh wow.
he got one in December 26th, 1917 against the Montreal Canadiens.
Wow.
Um, so 40 years, 30, 40 years before it was even coined, the
Yeah.
term, he registered one. But
Boxing
I mean,
Day.
everybody knows that, Gordie Howe, when he retired, he's got the second most goals all time, had the points record for the longest time, would still have these records if it wasn't for a guy named Gretzky. Well, I guess Ovechkin's beating him now as far as goals go, but
Yeah.
um, and we've talked about before. I don't know if we've mentioned it on the pod, but a lot of people, the old timers, the guys that played against Gordie Howe, will, if you ask them who the greatest player of all time is, they'll still say Gordie Howe because he could beat
Yeah.
you in so many ways. He can
Yeah.
score, he
Or
can pass, he's physical. Yeah, Bobby Orr said that,
Bobby
I
Orr
believe,
says Gordie Howe's still the best.
hands down. Yeah.
I think Wayne Gretzky says it,
Oh,
which
probably.
it was his
I could believe
idol.
that. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Gordie Howe was you
the
know,
Gretzky
the
before
Gretzky, exactly.
Mr. Hockey.
Everybody was looking up to him. He's Mr. Hockey. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, he was just so versatile. And I love that they have this little kind of little niche hat trick, if you will, of, a
Yeah.
goal assist, a fight called a Gordie Howe hat trick. It's very cool. It's unique to hockey to have that. Um, there are some players, so I'll try to explain this. There have been, so 5 times has there been um, players on the playing teams, so a
Okay.
double Gordie. So, like if the
One on
Caps
this
and
team,
Wings
one on
playing
this team.
someone,
They
you got
both.
one on each team in the same game.
Okay.
So, double Gordie. And the first time that happened was in 1981. And then we had um, a couple of Adam Henrique, Jerome McGinley,
Okay.
um,
I wouldn't have guessed those two.
had it together. Now I
I
don't
knew
know that they
Ginla's had a couple,
necessarily. I don't
but
know that they were necessarily in the fight together, but they both had a Gordie
okay.
Howe hat trick in the same game for different teams. Um, but there was a time that this says first time in 35 years that two players of the same team got a Gordie Howe hat trick, and that was Liam O'Brien and Nick Foligno, and then Jack McBain and Jared Tenorti
Oh, wow.
both had Gordie Howe hat tricks in the same game. Now, recently, we just had one this year, which I didn't really know about, but also it was a Canucks Flames game, so can't say that
Okay.
I always paying attention to those. But
Yeah.
this year, October 9th, um, JT Miller
Okay.
and Anthony Mantha.
Okay.
And I believe that those two fought each other.
Right. That makes a little more
So
sense.
then the fight was, they both had that fight, and then they both got a goal and an assist.
Right.
So just kind of interesting, that
Yeah, that is. I wouldn't have guessed that there
those
was
two
one this
players,
year.
yeah, neither one of those guys is a fighter, so it's just
No.
kind of weird that that's,
Yeah, they run
um,
hot a little bit, especially Miller. But, I
yeah,
mean, Mantha could go through 10, 20 games where he's not even on the score sheet. So
yeah.
it's.
Um, so there have been just a few other little tidbits here. There have been a couple of times. I don't know the year that this happened. Steve Penizzato, never heard of him, so I don't know how long he lasted in the league. But he got his first NHL goal in a Gordie Howe hat trick.
Oh, wow.
So the game you get your first NHL goal, you also score a Gordie Howe hat trick. Kind of cool. There
That's got to be pretty rare.
It is very rare because it's only happened, I believe, one other time, and the one other time, uh, Tyler Lewington of the Washington Capitals back in 2018, he's been the only player in NHL history to get a Gordie Howe hat trick where each the goal, the assist, and the fight were his firsts of those categories. So
First goal,
his
first assist, first fight, all the same game.
all the same game for his first Gordie Howe hat trick. How cool is that?
That is a cool one. That's a good nugget of history right there.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I thought that was very interesting. I mean, you almost, if you get the go, what would you think the hardest? Is it harder to get the assist or the fight? I mean, if I'm in the league and I got a goal and an assist, I think I'm just starting a fight
Just
just to get
starting.
that
I'm
Gordie Howe
just
hat trick.
going up to
Yeah,
the
I
ref.
don't even.
Oh, that's 2 minutes for roughing. You got to give me 5.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll punch him again. I'll punch him again. um,
No, that's a good point though, because in theory the goal is the hardest, right? But if you got the goal, maybe you got a secondary assist. It was a little bit
yeah,
lucky. Now you're kind of like running around asking people for a fight. I mean, you need a willing combatant to fight.
right. Yeah.
I mean, kind of, you got to force them to fight. The ref has to give you 5-minute majors. Like there's
And I
some,
mean, if you're an enforcer, if you're one of those guys, I mean, you're scoring 10 goals a year, maybe. So it's not like you're a scoring machine.
yeah,
You're not out there for those situations.
right.
Uh, so
And like
it's,
some of those guys that are maybe a little bit, more talented, like, Tommy Gunn Wilson, right, is somebody who's not afraid to fight, but he's going to get some play,
right.
obviously.
Yeah.
But you get somebody like a Jack Eye, who's a better hockey player than Rimpey, right?
Yeah.
Jack Eye's going to play most of the games this year. He's going to play 60 or 70 games, and he might even play all 80 this year because he's got a new contract. But it's
Yeah.
like, he doesn't score a lot of goals. So if he gets you 15 assists and he gets you 6 goals, it's like, okay, there might only be one game a year where he's got a goal and an assist. He might go
Yeah.
3 or 4 years without that happening.
Without
So
it. Yeah.
now, who in their right mind is going to go up to Jack Eye and he's like going to jump somebody and say, hey, I've got a goal and an assist. Do you care if I knock all your teeth out too real quick? What kind of psycho is going to fight Jack Eye? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
that's a good point. I wonder what is harder to get.
I don't know. But it's fun to think about. So
You
we've
know what's
also,
interesting?
go ahead.
I wonder, sorry to cut you off. I wonder how often the fight was first. Like it was a natural,
Mm,
organic fight, and then it revved them up.
yeah.
Now they're
Yeah.
like juicing. Like a McCarty, right? If McCarty goes and fights, he's gonna get
Well, I
all.
was just thinking, yeah. So, uh, yeah, I don't know what the order is usually. I don't, but so the game, right? The game for the Red Wings,
Yeah,
um,
right.
at the Joe,
They
right?
were
So
scoring a couple that game, right?
the revenge game, the Wings won
Turtle
six to
Day,
five in overtime,
Turtle,
and
Turtle Day.
yeah, yeah. The Wings won that game in overtime, 6-5. McCarty had a goal, and we know he had a fight. I Does he
McCarty
have
might
an
have had
assist? Did he have a Gordie
McCarty
Howe
might have
hat
had
trick
a
that
legal
game?
hat trick that game.
Ooh, I'd have to go back and look. I know he had a hat trick game one of the
Oh,
2002 Western Conference Finals against the Avs.
I think I'm
Um,
confusing it with that.
yeah, but for sure scored the game winner that game. Uh,
The 97 brawl, he got the game winner in overtime.
yeah, in overtime they won 6-5. Yeah,
And it's
so
an amazing goal, right?
he for sure, yeah, he for sure had a goal and a fight. I would just have to go back and look. But I mean, if you had the one goal, there's five other that were scored. Maybe he got an assist. That would be awesome
Right.
if he had a Gordie Howe hat trick that
So
game.
you got to wonder if who else. Everyone on the ice got a fighting major, right? So you
Yeah,
got Adam Foote, you got
we could.
Shanahan,
Yeah,
you got
you
Claude
know
Lemieux,
what?
you got Forsberg. I mean,
I'm going to make note of that, and I'm going to
Yeah.
look into that.
Larionov. Who else was on the ice? Obviously Lemieux and McCarty, but you had Forsberg, Larionov, Shanahan, Adam Foote. So I mean, there could have been just that because there was a lot of other fights that game. It
Yes,
was
there
just the
were.
famous
That's what
scene
started the whole. Yeah,
of
yeah,
the brawl and McCarty getting Lemieux was like I think it's 5 fights. Maybe they didn't give all five. It could have been six because Vernon and Waugh fought.
yeah. I'm not sure.
Interesting
I
though.
will. I will do some digging on that. I should have done that beforehand, but now I'm thinking about that game
Well, it's just
specifically.
I'm in my blinders view because not only are we Wings
Yeah,
fans, but I remember watching that game
yeah,
live, and it was like I want to say, what if that was the most ever? But then it's like some of these games in the '80s, there could have been 9 fights. There could have
right.
been 15 fights.
Yeah,
So
I'll follow up next time with that.
interesting.
So last thing about Gordie Howe hat tricks is all time leaders and who has the most. What um, you for sure heard of the top couple of guys that lead the
Yeah.
the pack with the most, but who would you think would have the most Gordie Howe hat tricks in their career, and what number would that be?
Well, I might know this.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, I'm not 100% sure, but I think I already know who has the most.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give a couple names first of just who I would think would have a lot because you got to get decent points, but you also got to fight pretty often.
Yeah.
So he didn't get a lot of goals, but he got a lot of assists and he fought a decent amount. I think that maybe someone like Chara might fit in there. I think that Tom Wilson might fit in there. I think that Keith Premu might fit in there. McCarty might fit in there. But I'm almost positive that the number one person has 15, Brendan Shanahan.
Okay. You're real close.
Oh,
You're real close. So the number one player is Rick Tocchet.
oh,
He's got 18 career Gordie Howe hat tricks.
18.
Yeah. Uh,
Pocket.
Shanny is number two with
Two.
17.
With
Yeah.
with how many?
17.
Did you just put balloons up?
I guess the peace sign makes it, yeah. Well, I'm recording this from my phone. So, the emoji, whatever app kind of thing going
Oh
on
my
there.
god.
So,
No, I don't
yeah.
have Apple. I'm on the PC recording with the webcam, but
What did we do the one time where we were both kind of making this?
is it going to
It's
give you
on
a
like our
heart or
YouTube.
you
It's
were
giving
making
me
fun of me?
hearts.
Everyone should go check out our YouTube. We got sidetracked because Stu is a big geography nerd. So I'm talking about Earth is shaped like this, and Nick starts going, "Is the Earth round, Stu? Is the Earth flat, or is the Earth
Yeah,
round?" So our clip for that episode on
that's
YouTube is
what it
both of
was.
us going,
Yeah, yeah. All right. Sorry to get sidetracked there. I just knew that if I made the heart sign, it would shoot up some hearts on my screen
"That's
if I
the."
just did the.
But it was perfect timing when you said Rick Tockett's got the most, and then
Yeah.
Shanahan's number two. It was like
Yeah.
celebration.
So Rick Tocchet with 18, Shanahan has 17, Brian Sutter has 16. He's
Okay.
third all time, and then Tiger Williams has 15.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean,
A lot of people over
one a
10.
season,
I thought there was a big
maybe.
drop.
I mean, they're not as prevalent as you would think. Now, Tom Wilson, he might end his career with double-digit Gordie Howe hat tricks. I don't know. I don't know what number he's at right now,
Yeah.
um, but also, real quick, last thing, Gordie Howe played
Yeah.
2,421 professional games. Those aren't just NHL, but professional games, and it's called a Gordie Howe hat trick for
I
crying
think
out
he
loud.
might only have like three.
Balloons.
2.
He's only got. Where are my balloons at? Why isn't
Where
it
are my
showing me a
balloons?
balloon?
I knew
Yeah.
that he didn't have a lot just because it was like trivia that it was like named after him, but he didn't really do it very often.
Yeah, he only had two
We're out of balloons.
career Gordie. Yeah, I guess I let him all go. He
It's
only
the end of
has
luck. They're all gone.
two Gordie Howe hat tricks. So, but I also just think that's kind of cool, and it speaks volume about the kind of player he was.
Right.
That I think he could go out there for any game, and he was always a threat
Yep.
to score a goal, get an assist, knock your teeth out.
Knock your teeth out. And that's really that's
Yeah,
why the good term, the journalist that coined it, is like exactly what you said. He's everything. He can score, he can play make, he can beat you up.
yeah,
How do you want to play this game? You want to win 10-9? I got you.
right.
You want to double team me? Okay, I'm passing it over to Lindsay. He's scoring. Sid Abel.
Yeah,
Oh, you got tough guys, the big bad Bruins. I'm gonna
right.
beat you all up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
So,
awesome, awesome.
so that's what I got for our little NHL segment, Nick's
That
history
that,
lesson
that
tonight.
was a
So, yeah,
great history lesson. What do we call it? Nick's history lesson.
Nick's
We gotta
history
get,
lesson. Yeah,
we gotta get one locked up.
yep.
That's a good one. I
So,
really like that. That's nice.
but I figured since it had just happened yesterday, and I had Tom Wilson as a stud, it was kind of a nice little segue into just learning. That's what I want it to be. Just a little nugget. It's not a whole history class on something. Just these little nuggets of trivia and just kind of cool things that, to be honest, a lot of times people might hear and know what they are, but just not know the history behind it or where they started, where it came from, kind of a thing. I love those little pieces of history like that. So
Yes, that is how I like it too. You do a good job of like a deep dive that's not like just overwhelming,
yeah,
stats and numbers that like, kind of go in one ear out the other. And the Gordie Howe hat trick is such a cool, like, because people who like hockey all the time, I think we forget sometimes that like the normal person, especially in the US, is like, if you just go talk to someone on the street, they don't know anything about
right,
hockey. It's just not
yeah,
like I watched the NHL a decent amount. I love hockey. I grew up playing hockey, but I'm so bad with other sports, right?
mm,
That it's like I was asking somebody, about the World Series, right? Because the Dodgers just won,
yep,
and the Rangers, the Yankees went up like 5-0, right? Like in the first inning. So I thought, oh man, Yankees won, but they're going to go back to LA. They're going to win at home. And people are like,
mm,
"Oh, no, it's over. The Dodgers came back and won." And I was like, oof, didn't watch it. I don't, oof. But most people know football,
yeah,
baseball, basketball. It's hockey where they don't know. So these cool terms that are like foreign language to someone else.
yeah.
Gordie
And
Howe,
I
hold on.
love the Gordie Howe hat trick because it's unique to hockey.
It's
Everyone
so
knows,
unique.
people know what a
Everyone knows
hat
a
trick
hat trick.
is.
Even if I don't really know where it started, but the low scoring games, the
Yeah,
soccer and
right,
hockey, and I don't know about field hockey as much. They score a little more, but like they know a hat trick. Everyone knows
right.
what it is.
Yeah,
Gordie Howe hat trick? Probably
it's a
not.
little different. It's a little different.
That is a good
Um,
little nugget and history. I was going to do some of these live scores, but they're not too exciting. Most of them were done before we recorded. No big upsets that I'm seeing other than the Flames blanked the Devils 3-0 is
oof,
pretty big.
okay. Did
Um,
you, so real quick, I know I had Jason Robertson going today, and I usually try to check my lineup in the morning. I also go to the league and just see if anybody's dropped any players or picked any guys up, just to kind of keep just a mental tab. I don't know, I don't keep track of all of them, but like,
yeah,
hey, if someone dropped a player that I want to put a waiver claim in for or something.
right.
So then I'm always kind of just checking my lineup in the morning. But I wonder how many people got burned today because of the global series.
Yeah. Honestly, because
Panthers,
I didn't know it
Dallas.
started that early. I
Yeah.
should check right now while we're here because Leah was like, I didn't know that they were playing early, and I think that she had everybody starting, but one of her
Mm.
best players is Sam Reinhart. So like
Oh yeah,
if he
yeah.
sat out, it could really affect your week. And actually,
And he had a goal or two today, I believe.
yeah. So I'm trying to see here. She's playing Ajo's Tacos this week. Ajo's Tacos is beating her, but Sam
Mm.
Reinhart today, he's had a good week.
Yeah.
Today, yeah, it was today. 2 goals and 1 assist.
Yeah.
Huge. I mean,
Yeah.
that
So if you miss that,
if you
and
missed
that's
that,
you leave those points on your bench, that could be the difference between winning and losing this week.
yeah. Leah's got a couple people that need to be put on IR plus here. She's got Rust. He's out.
Mm.
Anyways, I wanted to do one
Put them
thing.
on IR. Pick up Nyes.
Right, Leah, put him on IR, pick up Knives. There you go. I wanted to do one thing fun on here. Let's see if I can do it because we're a little long. But to end the podcast, we were joking. Eli's Nick's son has. I should just call him his fantasy name. Sorry, I say all your kids' names on the air. I didn't know
Oh,
if
it's
you
all
wanted
right.
me to say that. But
I've talked about him. Yeah.
yeah, Honey Nut Chelios is his fantasy
Yeah.
name. Great name. Honey Nut Chelios has gone crazy with the trades. I wanted to open them live. I've got 2 pending trades. I don't know what they are. He sent me 2 trades. I'm going to open them right now live.
Okay. I like it. One of them I know is pretty substantial. It's
First
like
one.
4 players and 4 picks.
Oh my. So the first one, he wants to give me Uyghur and Eberle because he listened to our podcast where his dad said go pick up Eberle and trade him. Uyghur and Eberle, his number 8 and his number 9 round pick. He wants from me Hudson, Slavkovsky. So I'm in. My round 5, my round 2.
Wow, round 2. Oof.
I'm just who is he giving me who's a round 2 pick? You think that Eberle or Uyghur are going in round 2?
No.
I think they're going round 4, round 6.
Yeah.
So that's a reject. That's a reject. Sorry, Eli. Here's one more he sent me. He must have pulled the one with a million trades. He's given me Brandon Hagel and his 13th round pick for Slavkovsky and a 3rd round pick. So he tries to get sneaky with those. Brandon Hagel, to be fair, is ranked 38th. So a 3rd round, mathematically, is the top 36.
Yeah.
And we have keepers. So the top 48. So Brandon Hagel meets it. But I'm not giving away a round 3
It's early. All those numbers are a little skewed this early in the season.
This early in the season. I think Hagel's a great player.
There's too much of a gap in those draft picks for me.
13 for 3. If it was his 8 for my 6,
right?
Maybe we're talking.
Yeah.
But I think Slavkovsky might end the year with 20 goals, and Hagel might end the year with 30 goals.
Yeah.
That ain't a 13-3 window.
No.
Anyway, so that's going to be a reject, Eli. But if you shore up those round picks a little bit, maybe we're talking. I'll tell you what. I just said Fox was a scrub. We all know he's going to be a stud at the end of 82 games. So if you want to send me another,
there you go.
Proposal, maybe I'll send you one.
Yeah,
involving Fox, but I need a big return for Fox. Okay. Good stuff. I don't have anything else to go with it. The live games today were somewhat predictable. No huge upsetting games other than I just wanted to shout out that Shesterkin had an incredible game, and the Jets win again. They played the Blue Jackets, who you got to give props to. The Blue Jackets are doing better.
They've been playing great. Yeah,
They're
playing motivated.
They're doing awesome.
I hope they do well. I love to see Monahan just tearing it up. Cole Caulfield, I love to see him doing well this year too with the number change to honor Johnny Hockey.
And he is killing it. Cole Caulfield is that's not a deep stud though. I mean, he's coming to his own. He kind of gets the shaft. Sometimes people say, "Oh, he's overrated." He's putting the puck in the net. That's what he's paid to do. So what do you want?
Yeah.
The Wild beat the Lightning 5-3, which the Wild are better than I thought they were. They're doing
Yeah.
really well. So that's about it. I don't have anything else other than one last final thing with the Ivan and Ivan thing. You hear that? The guy with the first name,
Oh,
last
yeah,
name.
yeah.
I meant to bring him up when we did Colorado. Ivan and Ivan. My dad sends me this text, some article or something about it. 2 names, right? Ivan and
Hmm.
Ivan. Well, you know the singer, rapper DJ Khaled? His name's
Okay.
Khaled.
Really?
Then another one is George H.W. Bush, president, former president. His granddaughter is named Lauren Bush. She married into the Ralph Lauren family. So her name is now Lauren. And the last one, the Mario brothers, are Mario and Luigi. Well, when the movie came out, the creator of Nintendo always used to say that they just have first names: Peach,
Hmm.
Luigi, Wario.
Yeah.
They're just first names. No one's got a last name. But they confirmed officially that they are the Mario brothers as their last name. So it's Luigi Mario and Mario. So there are your famous
Oh.
namers. We got Ivan and Ivan, Lord and Lauren, Colin, and
Wow.
Mario.
Okay. So I had a buddy that I played soccer with in college. His name was Shane Summers, but
Mm-hmm.
Sommers,
Uh-huh.
Summers. He married a girl, Summer, Summer,
Summer.
Summers.
That's even better because you personally know them. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. So yeah, that's fun though. I
All
like it.
right. Well, let's wrap her up then. I guess I gotta get out of here, get some
Yep,
coffee, and get to
agreed.
bed. It's now almost 1 a.m. Michigan. So,
Oof, all right.
all right, bud. Good catching up. Good podcast. Thanks for the history lesson. I feel like you do the heavy lifting
Absolutely.
doing the research.
Absolutely. Nah, it's fun. I enjoy it. So
All right,
thanks
everyone.
everybody
Thanks
for
for
tuning in.
listening. Keep your stick on the ice.
Make the first move, Conway.